All right, thanks for staying with us as we get into our big debate this evening. Remember, the SMS line is 22422, hashtag NEWSNIGHT. And these two gentlemen have had a long day. They were part of a vigorous debate during Parliament's first sitting on who is the majority side and who is the minority side. And Speaker Moses Wetangula his ruling on Thursday is eagerly awaited. But what should he consider? And also, why is it such a big deal? Well, want to hear from my guests this evening. Let me introduce them to you. On my immediate right is Robert Mbui, who is the MP for Kathiani, joining us on the program. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Ahiga.
And right next to him is Owen Baya, who is the MP Kilifi North. I've kept away from the other title, Deputy Majority Leader Designate for now, but they can use it at their liberty as we await to hear from the Speaker on Thursday. But let's first hear what their day was like, that first sitting in Parliament. And Honourable Mbaya, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wahiga, for having me on this show. And we had a good day. As Kenya Kwanza Alliance, I think the debate was robust, it was good. We whitewashed the pretenders to the throne. And, well, I think we've given enough fodder to Speaker Wetangula to actually make a ruling which, at the end of the debate, I think the other side walked out of the chamber knowing very well that their goose is cooked. And, well...
You are very confident about that.
We are very confident about that because they brought a document purporting that document to be the agreement that was signed. And a casual perusal at that document, you will actually know that there was a lot of fishy dealings that went underhand to produce that document. And therefore, the party, PA and Maendeleo Chap and UDM, who have decided they're not part of the coalition, actually have a strong case to say they didn't sign a document that any one of them ever saw. Even my friend here, Robert Mbui, would not tell you that he has had access to that document, and even if he wrote to the Registrar of Political Parties that that document be produced for his perusal and consumption, he will not get it. In a sense, even probably the Registrar of Political Parties does not have that document, because what you have are various versions that are being produced left, center, and right. Chama cha Maendeleo Chap actually wrote to request for a copy, and the only way the registrar replied was, please go to Azimio Secretariat to get a copy. So we have a situation where I believe a lot of the parties that belong to Azimio were actually conned into signing something that they do not know, they have never read, they don't understand the contents of it, and were only told to sign one page, and that one page now was attached to a bigger document, which is said to be a document. Even the document that Junet produced today has been expunged from the record of Parliament because it's not an authentic document. It is not a document that you would produce anywhere, even in a court of law, that a judge would look and say, this is it.
You've made some very strong statements that I need Robert Mbui to respond to. You've used words like con and whitewash and so forth. Robert, do you see it that way or differently?
Yeah, Wahiga, first and foremost, I think the Kenya Kwanza team is losing the script, and they seem to be lost. Because it's not about the agreements of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. It is more about the leadership of the House. Who is a majority and who is a minority. Now, they've scattered around this business all over the place, and it's in black and white. Because basically, there are only two documents that you can use to make that decision. One is the standing orders of the House that guide debate in that chamber. The second one is the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Both documents, and I will demonstrate here clearly, give Azimio la Umoja One Kenya the majority leadership in the House. But now what they are talking about is a document, I don't know, that was signed by Azimio affiliate parties. That's not the issue. And you know what? Even to authenticate that document, the person who gives the information that confirms who is in Azimio and who is not, is a registrar of political parties who wrote a letter to the clerk of the National Assembly and indicated clearly the membership of Azimio. So now, if Speaker Moses Wetangula, with all due respect, says that he's expurging from the records of the House that document, I mean, that can only be done in a court of law. I think we've overstepped our mandate. I want to say that I believe a decision was already taken, And today was a circus for members of parliament to pass time because we cannot transact business. I think the decision has been taken by Kenya Kwanza. And let me say, the Speaker of the National Assembly was a candidate for Kenya Kwanza for Speaker. And clearly, and I'll tell you, and it's important today we talk about why is it that Kenya Kwanza must, you know, because here it looks like it's a matter of life and death. Why is it they must claim the position of majority? So at the end of the day, I think there is nothing like whitewashing. We spoke facts. They went around in circles. They said all sorts of things. There was a lot of hot air, a lot of opaque information from them. But at the end of the day, clearly Kenyans have listened to us, have heard us. And Kenyans know that the majority, it was determined on 9th of August when Kenyans went to the ballot. And that's what we must talk about. That's what we must stick to. Anything that happened, all these shenanigans after that, are not important. You know, Aiga, some of the people that seem to have gone to Kenya Kwanza, when we met in KICC, the first time after the election, before the decision of who is the president-elect, some of the, like Maendeleo Chap, all their members of parliament were with us. And they even requested positions in committees through me. Not somebody else. So I'm not talking about something I don't know. They approached me and told me what they want to be, where they want to be placed. 2, 3, 4 days later, the decision of who is the president-elect was made. And suddenly, we only saw, you know, their courts taking a corner and they were running away from us. So,
Honorable Mbaya, why is this so important for Kenyans who maybe have just joined this discussion and wondering, surely, is it a matter of, I don't want to use the word life or death, but why is this so important?
Well, that decision is very important because it speaks to the business of the government business in the House. Because if you have a president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, who is a president elected on a Kenya Kwanza ticket or UDA ticket, he needs to prosecute his agenda in Parliament. The traditions of Parliament, the traditions of this country is that Parliament, the leader of majority in Parliament prosecutes government business. And all motions and all matters of government business goes through the leader of majority. But also, which is equally important, the chair of committees, the chairs of committees also prosecute business on behalf of government. Therefore, for us as Kenya Kwanza to relinquish the position to have, because whoever is declared as majority in the House will chair all committees except the pick and pack and the oversight committees, will chair all those committees. Now you can imagine, Wahiga, a scenario where this is the chairman for finance, in Parliament, who is an Azimio member, prosecuting our finance bill, the finance bill that William Ruto will bring into Parliament. That is unheard of, because this person will be the first person to challenge and tear apart that. He will not prosecute government business as a person in government. Azimio does not understand the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza. It is the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza that will be brought to the House through committees. It will be brought through the House leadership, the majority leadership. The plan, what we call the plan in Kenya Kwanza, will be brought through the committees. And every time, the chairman of a committee is usually, in the traditions, the last two parliaments that have been under the 2010 Constitution have been members of the ruling party. So in this scenario, so we have somebody, let me just use an example, a cantankerous person like Junet Mohammed being chair of finance.
He's not here, and I'm sure he'll protest today.
Yes, but okay, I'm just using him as an example.
Thank you for defending.
So he comes in.
The word cantankerous.
He comes in.
There's no need to go that low.
He comes in to prosecute the agenda. Would he do it the way, or they will just scatter the program that we have as Kenya Kwanza to move this country forward? So that's why it is very important that Kenya Kwanza takes the majority in the House. A very important element also that you need to look at, the angle that you need to look at, is that the business in the House, a lot of the business that in the House will come as government business. And that is what we see on Tuesdays and Thursdays, at Wednesdays afternoon and Thursday. It's government business. That's what it is. the government business needs to be brought through to the House by government, by the sitting government. Of course, there's that argument that they will bring at, you see, the Legislative Assembly is government. But you see, there's also traditions and practices in this country that even if we have the 2010 Constitution, we cannot say we don't have opposition. There's still opposition. The person who loses election definitely leads the opposition troops in the National Assembly. But you see, the argument, they will say that, yes, our chair can be from Azimio because we are all in government. And that argument does not hold water. Government business will be prosecuted by members that belong to the ruling party or allied to the ruling party. Now, sometimes I sit down and wonder, why do they want to be majority? Do they have a business? Because apart from just the numbers, you also need to look at functions, functionality. What are the roles of being in majority? That is also an important aspect because you have a role when you're in majority because you support the program of government, you prosecute the government, the program of government in parliament. Why do they want it?
What's your answer before he
answers? What will they do?
What's your theory? Why do you think they want it?
They want it just because they want to scatter our programs.
That's what you believe at the end of the day?
Yes, that's why we will defend it and we will not give them space. And by the 10th of November, they will even lose. I think the only party that will be minority will be ODM because, you know, the law opens it up. Now the other parties can leave. So I don't know why they want to fight for something that will last for only 20 days. Only 20
surely
days.
you must have a response to that.
I think no, I've listened to my colleague here, and
please
I don't have.
He has a question he wants to hear from.
Very kind words, but I want to just talk about this matter that he's raising. In fact, it just tells you how clueless Kenya Kwanza members are, because what you have to do is understand the role of the National Assembly. He is a member designated to be the deputy leader of the minority, and
majority.
Okay, well, we'll make that decision at the end of the day. But I'm looking at it from this perspective. When you talk about government business, I think what you forget is the purpose and the roles of the National Assembly members, which is to legislate, to represent, and to oversight. Now, oversight means that every member, whether in Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, has a role to ensure that they hold this government to account. But let me tell you, now what they are not noting is that they are actually under the control of the executive. Something we have tried to talk about for the last 10 years, that we must free parliament from the clutches of the executive. And now they're falling into it, and you've heard what he's saying, oh, you know, we must be majority so that we can be the ones running government business. There's a government out there made up of the executive with his cabinet. Members of parliament are not part of that executive. Members of parliament must articulate issues to represent their people. And if we are going to hold brief for the executive, then who takes care of those people that we are supposed to represent? I think that's where the problem is. But that's why you can see, and that I said I want that question asked, and you've heard my colleagues say, they are fighting to be the majority so that they can have an advantage in membership in committees, so that they can have all chairs coming from their coalition. Now, these chairs will be taking instructions from none other than State House directly. So then at what point then do they represent Kenyans? So I think we are not claiming for that space so that we can have a fight. We are claiming for that space because legally that position belongs to us. After some time, Waiga will confirm that that space will cease being ours. But as we speak now, the Political Parties Act, the standing orders, the Constitution, and if you are ready, we can demonstrate why it confirms that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is a majority, and there is no doubt about that.
And you want to confirm it?
Would you like me to take you through the reasons why?
If you can do it briefly so that I can also give him a chance to, I can give you...
Maybe I can give him a chance to say why, then I can...
Then we'll come back to you for that. and Honorable Mbui believes somehow, I think he's read the mind of the Speaker. I don't know how he's done it. Yes. He seems to hint that it's a done deal, that the Speaker has already made a decision. And do you hold any thoughts on that?
The Speaker is informed by certain tenets of law and facts that, for sure, Kenya Kwanza is the majority in the House. One, the Speaker will protect the rights of members to belong the political rights of members to belong and associate to any political formation that they want. It's under Article 38, okay? That you have a right to associate and you have political rights. So the Speaker will look at that and say, Chama Mandeleo Chapchap members, power members, you had today Mheshimiwa Kamket speak, you had several other party leaders that are in the House speak, that they would want their political rights to be protected. Article 108(2) of the Constitution is very clear that it is the party with majority members in the House or the coalition of political parties that has majority in the House that will take over the majority leadership in the House. Today, a fundamental question has been asked, and I would like to inform my friend here. Before the passage of this law that took us, that was past midnight, on the political parties.
Amendment Bill 2021.
There was enough latitude for Azimio to be formed as a political, as a coalition of political parties. It was there.
Which is what Kenya Kwanza has done.
Yes. They pushed the House and the whole country to the brink of whatever it was so that they can pass a law that gives them something called a coalition political party.
Yes.
They did that. Today they want to come back, reverse gear, to say, no, you know, we are not a political party, we are not a coalition political party. The plank you need to use is the plank of now we are a coalition of political parties. They have introduced a new term, corporate political party. Corporate. It's not known in law. But there are two things. In the Article 108, you are either the majority political party, for which case UDA is the majority with 145 members. If you move again to look at coalition of parties, Kenya Kwanza is the only coalition of parties. They are a coalition political party. Why did they want to push so hard to become a donkey while everybody else wanted to be a horse? You know, you are going to be a horse. You know, under Article 108, you are either a coalition political party, a coalition of political parties, or a political party.
With the majority.
They pushed us so hard so that they can form a coalition political party. So they thought they would have an advantage. Today, the chicken have come back to roost. They are now coming back and saying, no, we are not in this moment, in this assembly, we are not a coalition political party. Now, we are a corporate political party that includes being a coalition, and therefore Wiper, ODM, and all that now are coalescing as a coalition. But why are they moving there? We told them during the debate that this law will come to haunt them. It is haunting them. So they do not have that thing that they're calling themselves majority, because we do not have a coalition in parliament called Azimio. We have a political party called Azimio, which does not have a member in parliament.
Talk to me about so respond to that.
Yes, you know, first and foremost, I mean, I've been saying that this debate tires me because a lot of Kenyans are educated. You can read the Constitution. And let me deal only now with the matter is raised of the constitutionality. Article 108, subsection 2 says that the majority leader will be the leader of the party or coalition of party, which is the largest in the House. And the issue of the size of the party is based on the membership. That is also how you define what is a parliamentary party. It is on the number of members. So if a party has more members, then it is the largest party. Now, on the matter of Azimio, Azimio is a coalition political party. We have never changed that position. It is the coalition political party is defined in the Political Parties Act that we passed in the House when the Honorable Owen Bayer was a member and I was a member. I don't know where he was when we were passing it. But it says this, in the definition of a political party, It says it is the normal parties or a coalition political party.
I actually have it here.
Yeah.
It means a coalition that is registered by the registrar as a political party.
Yes. And a coalition political party is also a political party. So when you argue that we are saying we are a coalition, yes, we are a coalition, but we are also a political party. So if you look at that definition of the majority leader, being the leader of the party, which is the largest party, then the leader of Azimio becomes the majority leader. If it is the leader of the coalition that is the largest in the House, again the leader of Azimio, which is a coalition political party, again becomes a leader. So I don't know, we've been skirting around these issues. Nowhere have we said that we are not a political party. We are a coalition political party, defined under the Political Parties Act, a bill that we discussed in Parliament that was assented to by the President. And it was, I mean, the previous speaker sat through that process. The current speaker has no obligation than to believe in what the House did. And today when I spoke, I said this, that it is so unfortunate that members spend so much time fighting against a bill passed in the House. Members themselves know that the only way something becomes law in this country is when the majority have their say in the House. And so therefore anything that passes and becomes an act of Parliament becomes a property of the House. So you cannot be saying, I'm in Kenya Kwanza, and I don't believe in the Political Parties Act, which is an act of Parliament of the Republic of Kenya. Maybe you can respond to that.
Do you think we'd be having this debate tonight, Honorable Mbui, briefly, if Azimio had won?
We wouldn't, and this is the reason. That the reason why we are having this debate is because a lot of members that were elected under Azimio coalition political party. And
I think you alluded to marriage on the floor of the House. I watched that.
It's true because what happened is that the newlywed looked and saw the neighbor has a bigger house up in the hill, and they got greedy and now started saying, you know, this relationship is very abusive. I want to move that side. And so what they are doing now is they are cohabiting. They haven't done any marriage. There's no proper marriage.
Okay,
so,
now I'll give him a chance.
Yes,
now,
Wahiga, that is not true. During the campaigns, where was Alfred Mutua? Where was he campaigning? Who was he campaigning with? So this fact, where was Amason Kingi? Who was he campaigning with? Because it is about like three parties in Kenya who are in Kenya Kwanza, that is the Pamoja African Alliance, and Maendeleo Chap Chap, and UDM. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at during campaigns, Amason Kingi was campaigning with one William Samoei Ruto, who is the president now. One, Alfred Mutua, was campaigning. I hosted Alfred Mutua in my constituency with the then deputy president, who is now president, campaigning together. Maendeleo Chap Chap, Pamoja African Alliance, campaigned within the Kenya Kwanza family. Today, if they say that, you know, in this marriage, these guys looked at the guy at the hill and said, now we need to move. This is not true, because the facts bear us out, you know. The reason why today Amason Kingi is Speaker of the Senate is because he belongs to the Kenya Kwanza family. And that is how he became Speaker. Today, they cannot say they want Amason Kingi to continue to be Speaker of the National Assembly, who was sponsored by Kenya Kwanza. But they say that the three members that Amason Kingi has brought into Kenya Kwanza, they are counting them on their side. What an irony. Today, they are not challenging the nomination of Alfred Mutua as a nominee for Foreign Affairs, but they are saying the two members from Maendeleo Chap Chap belong to Azimio. You know, that is the dishonesty that they bring. Today, UDM has said, when we were campaigning, Azimio refused to campaign with us. They refused us. They called us an unpalatable word, madoadoa, when we were campaigning. Today, they want to own the 8 members that UDM has brought to the parliament, and yet they did not want to campaign with them or did not want to associate with them during the campaign. Ochieng of MDG was on the floor today. He said, this guy refused me. This guy didn't want anything to do with me during the campaign. Today, they want to take my seat and count it among their members. It is dishonesty. So what we are saying, the members that we have that have joined Kenya Kwanza post-election is because they were not initial members of Azimio, and they should let them go. You know, there's the case of Pharaoh in Egypt. You know about it. Pharaoh had done many things with these people and they were there. But when the time came for them to go, they had to go. But Pharaoh wanted to hold them. I want to tell my friends in Kenya Kwanza they should stop being Pharaoh. They should let the people go.
Now, a very serious statements being made here. I want to read SMSs, but okay, briefly, then I read feedback.
Owen, we will let those who want to go. But let me correct some of the things you said. First and foremost, even within Azimio La Umoja One Kenya, there was sibling rivalry. I belong to Wiper. They are members of ODM and other political parties. And there was all that conflict. I mean, I'll give you an example of Kajiado, for example, where Jubilee had a candidate for governor, and so did ODM, the one who finally won. And there was UDA, and there was a lot of fighting. And so sometimes there are people who would feel within Azimio that they were mistreated and not treated as good as the others. So basically, that is sibling rivalry within Azimio. Yes. But I'll tell you, I want you, because you've just talked about Chap, which is a party born from Machakos.
Yes.
And I will tell you this, that the members of Chap that are in the National Assembly campaigned with Azimio and had the R in their posters up to the ballot day. And this is a fact. And in fact, I will tell you that one of them, we went to his constituency with my party leader, His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who held his hand up and said the opponent that he is facing is UDA. And so therefore you people must vote for this member of Chap because he's in Azimio. And even after we finished the elections, they were in KICC with us. So the person that I agree moved earlier was actually their party leader, His Excellency Governor Mutua. Yes. And clearly, even back home, people said that Mutua has gone alone. So now that, now that tables have turned at the top, that is why things have happened the way they have. So I think the reality is that we do claim the position of majority, and we know that there are people that will move because of interest, because a lot of times members will operate on their own personal, probably even constituency interests. But I want to ask that these people who vied and said they're in Azimio and said Baba should be president, and when Baba was not president, they moved to the other side. Wouldn't it be fair that they went back to the people and asked them for fresh mandate? Wouldn't it be fair that they went back to the people and told them we've discovered the grass is greener on the other side? But you can't just move from parliament from one side to the other without going back to your people. The people elected me in Azimio. Even if we didn't win the presidency, I will stick in Azimio and carry out my mandate. I'm being fair.
I was hoping to read some feedback, but I have to allow him by 1 minute. Okay, go ahead. Respond to that question.
You see what Robert is trying to do, which is very unfair for those members. If today the party leader, His Excellency Alfred Mutua, declared himself as a member of Kenya Kwanza and actually signed an agreement with Kenya Kwanza before the elections, meaning therefore his party and all members, and these people voted, the people of Machakos who voted, the members of Maendeleo Chap did it knowing that this guy does not belong to Azimio. He belongs to Kenya Kwanza, and they voted. They did not vote on the strength that they used their symbol or they used their whatever. In PA, for example, they voted for these three members knowing that these people were actually Kenya Kwanza because they had signed an agreement before elections. So what Mbo is saying is not factual at all, because these people knew. It was public when they signed this document. It was public. I was there during the signing, personally, which was done before elections. And everybody else who was a member of Maendeleo Chap was a member of PA, knew that their candidates were not in Azimio, and therefore the ballot was cast for Kenya Kwanza candidates and not Azimio. So when they claim these members, the thing that we need to discuss, the party that came in later on was UDM, brought in 8 members. But you could see ODM did not feel like they belonged in Azimio, and they campaigned on their own. And after elections, they said, we campaigned on our own. We were thrown out of Azimio. And the good governor, Robbie, and who is now a senator, said, I want to go to where I feel I belong. That is the only case. But these other parties, and probably Ochieng, who went out there alone and later on felt he did not belong to these guys. And you know, there is a freedom of conscience in the Constitution. Where is my conscience? People should be allowed to exercise that. But you see, Azimio is trying to hold, you know, you cannot legislate on people's conscience. And that agreement that they put together is actually trying to imprison the conscience of these party leaders and members. And I think we need to respect the Constitution, we need to respect fundamental rights and the Bill of Rights.
Okay, fair enough. Let's hear what Kenyans have to say. Some are very confused about this debate. They're trying to figure out who's right and who's not. So we have some tweets and some SMSs as well. We start with the tweets. All right, hashtag Newsnight SMS line 22422. This one was actually from earlier on. David Makali, the veteran journalist, tweeted, which is the majority party can only be fairly determined by a court of law. Everyone in the National Assembly is partisan. So, you know, could this move to the courts of law? This was posted also on the Kanu Women Congress, a verified account. Even if the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula rules in a certain way, this will end in court. Okay, let's look at a few others. Hiram Jao, the writers of the political parties coalition law had the best intentions for the country. Our courts of law form the best platform to rule on who has the majority in the House is when the Honourable Speaker's verdict becomes popular. Azimio and Kenya Kwanza have no MPs. UDA got most MPs. That's Hiram Jao there, giving his view. C. Jame K. Why is National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula finding it hard to seek clarification from the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties on who has majority legally? Azimio has 173, Kenya Kwanza 164, and Independent 12. Those saying Azimio is a coalition political party, PPA defines it as a coalition registered by the registrar as a political party. Okay, hearing different arguments there. Elijah Wangari, 42. Speaker Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula has got a tough time on deciding which political affiliation will serve as a majority in the National Assembly. Listening to parliamentarians from both factions, they're all right. Is that correct? Okay. Lazaro Kanyambok, you say the current standoff might force us to revisit the infamous 1964 Limuru Conference, where KPU members were asked to seek fresh mandate from the electorate. You can't defect from the coalition by roadside declarations.
Very good.
Okay. Maybe we can take two more on tweet, then I have two on text. Sadi, you say, why are we even having a contest of a majority-minority? The laws are there. The Registrar of Political Parties is available for direction. Let's take one more. I know there are many. We can't handle them all right now. The majority divide is because of political dishonesty and shows the lack of political hygiene. This is well illustrated where Senator Roba used the willing buyer, willing seller as an example to emphasize UDM's decision to leave Azimio. This is Nudin Kagai. Let me read two SMSs. One says here, no name, on this House leadership decision, kindly pose to the two leaders, what would it be if Azimio is named as a majority in the House? Then after the lapse of the time frame stipulated with other parties comes to an end, the parties formally decamp to Kenya Kwanza. Will there be a change of House leadership? I don't think so, but of course the leaders here will speak. Fred Obachi Machoka says, David Ochieng said today in Parliament, this is a veteran journalist, that he's been demanding to leave Azimio. PA demanded the same. You can't demand to exit where you don't belong. Okay, that's Obachi's take on it. Honorable Rosa Buyu, former Kisumu woman rep who's now an MP in Kisumu, in a constituency, says, surely how disheartening it must be for Kenyans to hear MPs whom they trust and have delegated powers to represent and legislate on their behalf say that they signed binding documents without even reading and just signed. How can Kenyans now trust these members to legislate laws that govern the country? Okay, I have a few other questions beyond this. I'll give you a minute each to respond to some of that feedback. Then we want to talk about cost of living for a bit. Fertilizer, GMO, we have to touch on that briefly before we wrap up. Okay. Honorable Baya, let's start with you.
Well, one of the things that has been spoken up is how did people sign documents that they had not read?
And might they sign others in future?
No, you see, the power of coercion resided in certain offices in this country, the power of coercion and the instruments of power and all that. And based on that, you saw people rushing to actually sign documents because a big man somewhere had said, please, you must do this or we do this. Kamket, the MP for Tiaty, spoke about it today in Parliament and said, you see, he was arrested very many times so that he toes the line. And we know the previous regime used that. They did a lot of that to coerce. If you remember, during the division of revenue formula in Senate, a lot of senators were arrested. So you remember, is it Lelegwe or one of the senators who had a really hard time? And he was arrested. I don't know, his house was raided. You know, all that's the use of state machinery to coerce members. That was what was used to coerce people to sign a document where they only signed one leaf. Now, I trust that they will not do that now because we have a government that is pro-people and will not use the same coercive powers to make members of parliament do the dirty work for them. That will not happen again. And I trust this president will not do what was done to him by the previous regime. And therefore, these members of parliament can sit pretty, legislate the way they want. They can do their business without fearing that they will be coerced. And therefore, as we move to the majority debate, for the majority, I want to say one last thing. Article 259 talks about this constitution. When we are reading the constitution of this country, you need to read it as a wholesome document. And one of the things that is a tenet there is good governance, accountability, and all that. President William Ruto has said he would like to have a robust opposition. He would like to be checked. The checks and balances and accountability will not be brought because Parliament works together, but because there is a strong opposition, there is checks and balances, and we are giving Azimio the power because it is given to them by the people to be not in government. Let them exercise it. Let us bring debate to in this country to that level where it was before when there was an opposition, a strong opposition. Let them use the opportunity to counter-check this government and to bring it to accountability for everything that we do as in government.
Okay.
That is what democracy is about. And we're going to build democracy in this country, raise the level of debate, raise the level of accountability if we have a strong and robust opposition. We do not want Azimio to deal with government business in Parliament. That is the only way to assure good governance in this country as the Constitution demands. I want to challenge my friends. Take your position. Do your work. Audit us. You know, hold us to account so that Parliament now can raise to the occasion for which it was created. Okay. That's what I would last.
I believe they've had. What do you want to say briefly? I want to talk about something else.
Yes, when he says auditors, that is him. I'm sorry, but we cannot audit you. You're a member of Parliament. So we will audit the executive. But, you know, it's good not to speak from both sides of the mouth because I just want to respond to some of the two things you've said. Yeah. Then I'll mention one because that is from the comments made by our viewers. One, you just said that you want a strong opposition. Then you... by mouth, by word. But by action, you have already raided the Azimio la Umoja opposition and procured members from our coalition who are now becoming part of the government. So I'm surprised. Because if you want a robust and strong opposition, then allow us to have our numbers so that we can be the strong opposition you speak about. Secondly, I mean, I don't want us to speculate here. Because you've speculated, oh, people were coerced, there was power, instruments of power. Might it be then mean that now that instruments of power have shifted, the person now wielding the instruments is now able to use them to coerce people to join his side? I mean, it's two sides of a coin. But let me go back to the real issue that you asked Wahiga, which was the issue of the comments that members here, our viewers made. There is two or three or four people have referred to ORPP, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. And you know what? These are learned Kenyans, and they've just told us here, while we are here in studio, that Standing Orders 2B says that in the determination of the majority or minority in the House, the clerk of the National Assembly will write to the Office of the Registrar and get an answer confirming the relative strength of each coalition, which was done, and a letter has been tabled. In fact, interestingly, the Speaker did not question that letter and did not question the contents of that letter. But the letter shows clearly that Azimio is a coalition political party with the following individual and corporate members. And it listed all the members. If you count the members that belong to those parties that are in Azimio versus those that the registrar gave that are in Kenya Kwanza, Azimio have more.
Let me read one message here because we need to switch gears. I'll probably take a break before we come back. Morris Okiwa from Huruma Madhara, you say, this is my take. Speaker should use his Solomonic wisdom, bring a win-win situation in Parliament. I don't know how he's going to do that. Kenya is on the process of healing. We need not close our eyes on what the law says. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, GMOs, fertilizer, cost of living. I want to hear from them. Now that the first sitting of Parliament has taken place, what are they going to do about it as the representatives of the people? We have that brief discussion when we come back. You're watching Newsnight. Stay with us. We'll be right back.